See, Olivia, will you please read our first learning target for us?
I can compare and contrast what I see and hear when I read the text to what I perceive when I watch the same scene of the film.
Absolutely. And I think it was Kimberly who told us that our purpose of our essay was to compare and contrast. We're looking at similarities and differences between what we see and what we hear. And Edward, will you please read for us our second learning target?
I can analyze a model focus statement.
Brilliant. Thank you, Edward. So like I said, we're going to be diving into focus statements. And if you guys remember from our introduction, our focus statement is giving us the focus of this essay, what this essay is about, what this essay is actually doing. Wonderful. So like I said, the first thing we are going to be doing is we're comparing and contrasting our text and our film scene. All right. In a language dive, we are looking at the different language, especially today in a focus statement. Nice. Thanks, Alondra. All right, awesome. So Alondra answered yes, we are going to be diving deep into our focus statement, our model focus statement. All right. So our focus statement that, if you remember, we saw in our model essay, and I'll dive into this in a little bit, but in our model essay, we saw that focus statement that was highlighted in green. And I'm going to have Mario, will you please read for us our focus statement that was highlighted in green right up here?
A comparison of chapter 11 of the book and the same scene of the movie.
Awesome. Thank you, Mario. So a focus statement answers the prompt. It answers the focus question. So our prompt, remember, is how does the experience of reading chapter 11 and watching the same scene of the movie, how is it similar and different? So our focus statement says a comparison of chapter 11 of the book and the same scene of the movie, right? We're focusing on the similarities and the differences. Nice. So that's how we're going to contribute to that big idea, focusing on the similarities and the differences. So looking at our learning target, I can plan the introduction of a compare and contrast essay with a strong focus statement. Here is our example focus statement. So if you remember, our model essay was talking about the Medusa scene in chapter 11. In our essay, we're going to be talking about this lotus flower scene in chapter 16. All right, next thing that we do in a language dive is we split these up by chunks, right? So our first chunk, both similarities and differences. D'Angelo, does this chunk of our sentence come at the beginning or the end of the sentence, both similarities and differences?
Which chunk?
This one right here, both similarities and differences. Does that come at the beginning or the end?
If I'm not mistaken, it comes at the beginning.
Oh, interesting. Why do you say that, D'Angelo?
I say it because I forgot why I said it.
That's okay. What I love about that answer, D'Angelo, is that D'Angelo does a really good job of restating, right? He always says, I think that it comes at, so that was a brilliant way to restate the question. But D'Angelo, what do you see? What's this little dot after differences? You know what this is called?
Period.
A period, right? And so when we see a period or an exclamation point or a question mark, that's how we know that this comes at the end of a sentence, right? So does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so when we see that like little little punctuation mark, we know that it comes at the end of a sentence. What does the first letter of a sentence look like? So when you are doing the first letter of a sentence, what is special about the first letter? Yeah, D'Angelo.
It has a capital.
Brilliant. It has a capital, right? So that could be another way that we know that this definitely doesn't come at the beginning because it doesn't have a capital letter. Nice, D'Angelo. All right, looking at our word similarities, what does this word similarities mean? When we're thinking about similarities, I know D'Angelo's got it, but I want to hear a new voice. Yeah, Kimberly, what's a similarity?
Similarity is like something similar.
Yeah, and what does that mean, Kimberly? When something is similar, what does that mean?
It means that there's something alike that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want you guys to go to slide 3. And when we're talking about similarities, just like Kimberly said, we're talking about things that are alike. Absolutely, right? Things that are the same, similarities that we see, things that are alike, things that are the same. Great word, Kimberly. Differences. Differences are things that are, what's a difference? When we're talking about differences, yeah, D'Angelo, I appreciate your hand, but let's hear a new voice. Yeah, Dayani.
Things that are like opposite.
Yeah, right. Things that are opposite, things that aren't the same, right? Absolutely. So when we're thinking about differences, we can think about things that are opposite, not always like the exact opposite, right? But things that like are not the same. Yeah, and sometimes they are opposites. Nice, Dayani. Right? Opposite, not the same. Nice. So now we know that in our essay, we're going to be writing about things that are alike, things are the same between the book and the movie, and then things that are opposite, things that are not the same. And yes, I can definitely zoom in. So similarities, things that are alike, oops, sorry, and differences, things that are opposite or not the same. Nice. All right. And I'm going to be putting this specific slide back up, so don't worry if you haven't written it all down. Our next chunk, we're going to be talking about this word reveal. So our whole sentence says a comparison of chapter 11 of the book and the same scene of the movie reveals both similarities and differences. Raise your hand if you've heard this word reveals before. This word reveals. Kimberly's heard it. Has anybody else heard this word reveals? Yeah, Dayani's heard it. D'Angela's heard it. Rocio has heard it. Rocio, do you mind sharing with us either a context where you've heard that word reveals or what you think that word reveals means?
I think reveal means to show something.
Brilliant. And what I love about Rocio's answer is that she restated my question again, right? I think that reveals means to show something. Absolutely. To show something, to show. Wonderful. All right, awesome. So now we can go back to our sentence, right? A comparison of chapter 11 and the sentence is right up here. A comparison of chapter 11 of the book and the same scene of the movie reveals, which now we mean shows, both similarities, things that are alike, and differences, things that are not the same. Nice work. All right, awesome. Our next chunk of our sentence is a comparison of chapter 11 of the book and the same scene of the movie. Raise your hand if you've heard this word comparison before. This word comparison. Keep your hand up if you're okay with sharing what you think it means. Kyrie, what does comparison mean?
Comparison means something like compare what is different and what is similarity.
Perfect,
think-
Kyrie. Yeah,
Yes.
that's perfect. And also Kyrie did a wonderful job restating my question, right? Comparison means talking about things that are similar and talking about things that are different. Wonderful. So we know now our focus statement, we are going to be comparing differences and similarities between our movie and the book. Awesome. All right, we're going to use this frame, a comparison of and reveals that to be able to think about what this means to us. All right, so in your next part of your note taker, I want you to be thinking about comparing two things, all right? And it doesn't have to do with Percy Jackson. It could be completely different. So we could say something like a comparison of dogs and cats reveals that, hold on, let me pull my example, reveals that dogs have more energy than cats, but both make great pets. So you could compare Anime and Riverdale. Those were some shows we liked this morning. You could compare your brother and your sister. You could compare 6th grade and 5th grade. Comparing two things, giving me the first thing right here, a comparison of blank and blank, and then what it reveals, right? A comparison of Anime and Riverdale reveals that anime is usually drawings, whereas Riverdale is real people. Or comparison of 5th grade and 6th grade reveals that 6th grade is way more fun than 5th grade, or the 5th grade is way more fun than 6th grade. All right, so just take about 2-3 minutes right now to silently finish this on your own. Fill in this sentence frame, comparing whatever 2 things you would like and what that comparison reveals. What is similar or what is different? I gave 2 differences, but you could do 2 similarities. A comparison of anime and Riverdale reveals that they're both really fun things to watch. So you can either think about a similarity, a difference, or both. So just take a couple minutes to fill this out on your own. Slide 3, comparing 2 things. And then after we have compared those 2 things, I want to hear Brianna. I'm going to want to hear your comparison. And Saray, I'm going to want to hear your comparison as well. Everyone should be comparing their own thing, but Brianna and Saray are going to share out their comparisons. Yeah, Rocio, we're comparing 2 things. So you can choose any 2 things that you would like in the whole world. And then you're telling me what it's revealing, what similarities and differences it's revealing. So you could say a comparison of tacos and ice cream reveals that both are foods, but tacos can be a little bit spicier than ice cream. You could compare yourself and Percy. A comparison of Percy and myself reveals that we're both 6th graders, but Percy is a demigod. So again, I want everyone to be reflecting on their own, and then Brianna and Saray, give me a thumbs up reaction when you are done and ready to share. Yeah, and Leslie wrote in the chat, it's your opinion, right? So comparisons can be opinions, right? You can talk about something that is a fact, right? So in my dogs and cats example, I said that dogs and cats reveals that dogs and cats are both animals. That's a fact, but then I can give my opinion. But but dogs have more energy than cats. Maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you think that cats have more energy than dogs, right? So good point, Leslie. Comparisons can either be opinions or facts. Definitely. This is a case where you could do an opinion. And then Brianna and Saray, again, just give me like a thumbs up or write in the chat when you're all good and ready to share. Nice. And while we're waiting for Brianna and Saray, would anybody like to share their comparison that they wrote? No. That's okay. Yeah, Delilah.
Like Disney World and sorry, and Universal Studios are both amusement parks, but Disney World has like 6 parks, I think, or 8. I don't know. Yeah, but it has more parks, and Universal Studios, in my opinion, has better food, and yeah, and then Disney World has a lot of rides and stuff.
Yeah, nice, Delilah. So if we're transforming Delilah's answer into our comparison format, we would say comparison of Disney World and Universal Studios reveals that Disney World has more rides, but Universal Studios has better food. Nice, Delilah. Really good choice. All right, Saray, I see your thumbs up. Go ahead.
A comparison of Riverdale and anime reveals that both have people, but Riverdale has real people and anime just are just drawings.
Yeah, nice, Saray, using mine. But Saray, I want to hear, and you can use Riverdale and anime, but I want to hear your opinion. What is similar or what is different other than those two things between Riverdale and anime?
Okay.
Yeah, nice. And then Brianna, go ahead and write it in the chat when you're all set and I'll share. All right, so while we're waiting for Brianna and Saray, oh, awesome. Brianna said, a comparison of my middle sister and my older sister reveals that they are both my sister, but my older sister doesn't talk to me a lot, right? So nice similarity and nice difference. Nice job, Brianna. And then Saray, did you figure out a similarity or difference between those two?
Not yet.
Not yet? All right, you can write me in the chat once you have it. Thanks for sharing, Saray. All right, so we are going to now our last thing, and make sure that you have this filled out. Our last thing on our note catcher is that we're going to take that sentence frame to talk about the similarities and differences between the scene from chapter 16 and the same scene in the movie. All right, so now I want you to take a couple of minutes to fill out this sentence frame. A comparison of blank and blank reveals both similarities and differences. So comparing the scene from the chapter 16 text and the same scene in the movie, fill in these two, reveals both similarities and differences. And then give me an example of either a similarity or a difference between the scene from the chapter and the same scene in the movie. So if you want to go back to your entrance ticket, you can do so, but take 2 minutes to go ahead and write this down. And then after we have written this down and given a couple of minutes, Sandy, give me a thumbs up if you are okay with sharing your focus statement. And you can write it in the chat, Sandy, too, if that's all right. Yeah, okay, awesome. So this is going to be our focus statement for your essay. So make sure that you are writing this down. This is really important because you are going to be putting this in your essay. This is what you are going to be focusing on in your essay. So before we dive into what our graphic organizer is going to look like, I want you guys to just take a moment to silently reflect on how you're feeling about both of our learning targets. So our first learning target was comparing and contrasting, looking at similarities and differences between what you see and what you hear when you read the text to what you perceive when you watch the same scene of the film. If you have a lot of questions and you're not sure what to do when we're doing that, it's a 1. If you have some questions and you're still learning it, sometimes you're unsure, a 2. You feel like you know it pretty well, you get almost every question right the first time, you're at a 3. And if you know it very well and you could teach it to somebody else, you're at a 4. And Rocio asked that great question of what if you're between 2 numbers? You can definitely put this between 2 numbers if you're a little bit between 2. And then our second learning target is I can plan the introduction of compare and contrast essay with a strong focus statement. So how you're feeling about writing that focus statement. If you feel like you could teach it to somebody else, you're at a 4. If you feel like you got your own, it's pretty good, you're at a 3. If you feel like you need some help still, you're at a 2. And if you're really confused, you're at a 1. Just take about 2 minutes or so to reflect on our learning targets.